Goaltending market, and Bob McKenzie, we're hearing that Braden Holtby is going to Vancouver.
Yeah, we're still just finalizing the details on that, but obviously the Vancouver Canucks were concerned that their goaltender Jacob Markstrom was going to market, and they didn't wait too long to go after Braden Holtby, the former #1 goaltender of the Washington Capitals, believed to be a 2-year deal. So that fits that need for them. As for Markstrom, it's an interesting tale here. Initially, we believe the Edmonton Oilers might have been at the front of the line for him, but the belief is that now that Holtby has gone to the Vancouver Canucks, that Markstrom may not be going to the Edmonton Oilers, and in fact are out on Jacob Markstrom. The Calgary Flames are still talking to Jacob Markstrom about a contract, so the goalie carousel continues to turn around.
Well, that's so Darren, here's the thing. You know, we're hearing that Markstrom wants somewhere around $6 million a year. Where's that going to come from?
It's a good question. Frank Seravalli tweeting a short while ago as well, confirming the interest from the Calgary Flames. Now, the Flames have been in on Jacob Markstrom, I would say, since the gate opened at noon Eastern time. Obviously, Brad Treliving looking for a goaltending upgrade there, but it could come down to term. Jacob Markstrom and his representatives from Newport Sports are probably looking for the full 7-year term. But the question is, Brad Treliving and the Calgary Flames ready to give up on that term? It doesn't sound like they're quite there yet, but when you look at the bigger picture, and as Bob has reported, the Vancouver Canucks have their guy in Braden Holtby. The Edmonton Oilers know that they're now out on Jacob Markstrom, so if it's not Calgary, then Jacob Markstrom has other options that he's willing to consider at this point, but the Flames are among them.
And if the Oilers have to sort of go back to ground zero now with their goaltending, one thing that we've talked about for weeks now was whether there was a plan B with Carolina about trading for Peter Mrazek. We know that Ken Holland had Mrazek in Detroit. It's not the top option, but it's something that I know both teams have discussed if the Oilers couldn't get what they wanted in free agency, so something to keep in mind.
All right, so the carousel continues to spin rather. Let's go back to Gino Reda with his goalies to talk about these latest moves.
All right, we continue to ask the question, what are teams willing to pay? And now we know the Vancouver Canucks are willing to pay 2 years at $4.3 million per season. Jamie, when we started the conversation today, you went past Markstrom and said, I think somebody should definitely target Holtby. You still think he's got plenty of game. What did you see in his game last year? Because it didn't look like that last year, that he had this much left.
Absolutely, because at 30 years old, Washington isn't a team that plays very defensively sound. They had the substitute teacher there in Todd Reardon, and you know what? I played with Todd, fantastic guy, but there was a massive drop-off in the way that they cared in their own zone. So Holtby's game suffered as well. I think this is a perfect fit in Vancouver because he's going to be able to mentor Thatcher Demko, give him an opportunity, and you know, split the games. You know, we'll see how that unfolds based on how they play, and Travis Green wants to play them. Holtby's a Western guy. He works with a guy named John Stevenson in Edmonton to work on the psychological game. So to me, I think this is a fantastic fit for the Vancouver Canucks, and it's the right price point too. It's not a massive deal as far as 2 years and just over $4 million.
Marty, Jamie likes the idea. Do you like the move, Holtby to Vancouver?
I'll say this, I don't mind it at all because of the 2-year deal and because the number is just over $4 million a year. So I would think that that's a very reasonable price for Braden Holtby. Now, we have to remember that the slip and slide for Braden Holtby did not just start last season. It started a few years back when the Washington Capitals won the Cup. Phil Grubauer actually started in the playoffs over Braden Holtby. So Holtby came in a couple of games in and then never left the crease and won the Stanley Cup. But I think that for the Vancouver Canucks, what I like about it is the Canucks are an up-and-coming team. They're on their way up. You don't want to go in with a question mark in the crease. And Thatcher Demko, as well as he's played and as well as everybody thinks he's going to be, would have been a question mark moving forward by himself. So now you put Holtby alongside the youngster. That's a good tandem. You don't have any question marks in net, and you can move forward with a very exciting team in Vancouver. I like that a lot for the Canucks.
Briefly, do you see this a platooning situation? Because you don't want Demko watching too much, and you're paying the other guy, Braden Holtby, $4.3 million a year. So what's the split in games?
Well, I think if Holtby plays well, you're probably giving Holtby 50, 55, and Demko 30. But if Demko's looking ready, you give him a little bit more. I look at it like Ryan Miller and myself, right? They were ready to give me 50 games, but Miller played better, so I sat on the bench a little bit more.
I think Holtby's a 50-game guy, and Demko's going to take that much a game off of him. Also, this is maybe a condensed season with a lot of back-to-back, so you might need two goaltenders to go right at it.
All right, goaltending free agency continues, James.